I had to go to meetings about that bakery. You talking about, put that on there, number 19 on that addiction list. Another thing that you spoke to Karen was when God called to a place. I think it's going on in my professional career where I'm kind of like stuck because I won't listen. I'm a training violent interventionist dealing with individuals that suffer gunshots. Y'all know about the streets. Dealing with men coming out of incarceration and trying to see what God has in store for me. And just by Karen being here and Robin convincing me to be here, I know God's lining me up for something. So thank you very much.
When Christ was born, one night, divine night, holy night. Jesus is real, His love shall ever guard us, for He is here, and His soul is long. Oh, but the thrill of home, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks the new and glorious morning. Fall, fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angels voices all night, divine night, when Christ was born. All night, divine night, holy
And I will never forget that little face looking up to me saying, "Daddy, why can't we just go play ball? Daddy, I hate your friends."
Allegheny County Department of Human Services, Office of Behavioral Health and Drug and Alcohol Services. And that's the function for last year recipient.
Good afternoon. It's definitely an honor to be here today. I was very excited and humbled last year to receive the award and to pass the torch on to David J. Hickton, in which I would describe as a new friend, a new colleague in the movement to sort of, address the overdose epidemic is definitely an honor again. So I'm going to start with reading a little bit about David J. Hickton. He's not here with us today, but Sue Song is here to accept the award on his behalf. Is that correct? Right, okay, just wanted to make sure. I'm looking at Margaret too, and I'm like, is Margaret or Sue? But just wanted to make sure that they're both here representing the U.S. Attorney today. But a little bit about David J. Hickton. David J. Hickton was nominated for the United States Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania by President Barack Obama on May 20th of 2010 and was confirmed by the U.S. Senate on August 5th of 2010. He was sworn in as the district's 57th U.S. Attorney on August 12th of 2010. During his tenure as U.S. Attorney, Mr. Hickton's signature achievements include, and this is some of the things that he has done under his leadership. One is combating the national heroin and the opioid crisis. Under his leadership, he co-chaired the National Heroin Task Force. He formed the U.S. Attorney Working Group on Drug Overdoses and Addiction, which includes key federal, state and local law enforcement, along with public health and public safety staff. He brought community impact prosecutions against large-scale heroin traffickers and worked to reduce stigma and minimize the criminalization of addiction and to improve access to treatment. He's also addressed cyber threats. He brought the first of its kind indictment against 5 members of the Chinese military for economic espionage against Pittsburgh-based companies and organizations. And he also created a dedicated section in the U.S. Attorney's Office to focus on cybercrime and national security. He's also working around community policing and community trust. He assembled a community policing work group in 2011 to build trust for and from law enforcement and the citizens they serve. He also established a civil rights section in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Pittsburgh was selected as one of the 6 pilot cities for the National Initiative for Building Community Trust and Justice by Attorney General Loretta Lynch. He's also had significant civil recoveries, one such as the EDMC, in which he achieved a historic settlement of $95.5 million. It's the largest ever False Claim Act recovery of Department of Education funds. Prior to becoming U.S. Attorney, Mr. Higdon engaged in the private practice of law, specifically in the areas of transportation, litigation, commercial, and white-collar crime. Mr. Higdon began his legal career serving as a law clerk for the Honorable United States District Judge Diamond from 1981 to 1983. For more than a decade, Mr. Higdon was an adjunct professor at Duquesne University School of Law, where he taught antitrust. Mr. Higdon is a fellow in the American College of Trial Lawyers and a fellow of the Academy of Trial Lawyers of Allegheny County. Mr. Higdon has been admitted before the United States Supreme Court, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania, and several of the U.S. Circuit Courts. Previously, Mr. Higdon was involved in a wide range of community activities and has long been an active supporter and participant in organizations which benefit children and the arts. He is the past executive board member of the Pittsburgh Public Theater and served as its president. Mr. Higdon also was a longtime member of the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, a nonprofit organization that uses arts and culture to reinvigorate downtown Pittsburgh. His nomination as the United States Attorney marks Mr. Higdon's second presidential appointment. From 1999 to 2001, Mr. Higdon served on the President's Advisory Committee on the Arts for the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts at the request of then President Bill Clinton. Mr. Higdon is a 1978 graduate of the Pennsylvania State University and a 1981 graduate of the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. So to say something on a personal note about David J. Higdon, it was about 2 months ago, and I sent him an email, and I said, "Hey Dave, I heard Obama is coming to Pittsburgh at CMU." I said, okay, so I've been trying to get an opportunity to meet him during his presidency. I said, is there a possibility that you can make that happen? I said, I would love to get a chance to meet and take a photo with the president. And it was me kind of a little bit joking, but kind of for real at the same time. And it was funny because next thing you know, I received an email on a Sunday that actually connected me with the Secret Service that had the connection to Obama, and he was like, be here on this day, this time, and me and 2 other SCA, single county authority administrators, had an opportunity to meet the president and to take a photo with him, and the president had an opportunity to learn about the work that we were doing here in the region as it relates to addressing the opioid epidemic. So I can tell you that that was definitely one of the highlights of my career to date. And I just want to say that David J. Higdon is, passionate about this work. He's passionate about the community, and he is one person that really is trying to fight the the stigma related to issues related to addiction. So I am honored again to introduce him and to pass the torch to David J. Hickton. So Sue, please accept the award.
It's really an honor to be here. Margaret and I actually were talking to Dave in the car on the way here. Some of you may know he had knee surgery recently. He's recovering at home, but it's really very hard for him to miss this because this is, in his heart, his number one issue. I've been acting as United States Attorney for 1 week. I have been a career prosecutor with the Justice Department for 20 years, and I do have to tell you that as hopeful and inspiring as the message is here in this place among you, it is a challenging time in Western Pennsylvania. You know, the opioid epidemic is taking more lives and tearing apart more families at a rate that we haven't seen before. But I think this award for David Hickton is extremely appropriate because he was the right man to confront this challenge, this unprecedented challenge at this time. And having worked as a prosecutor in law enforcement, the first thing that Dave Hickton did was to blow up all the preconceived notions of law enforcement that you can prosecute your way out of this problem. You cannot. He made that very clear. And he transformed the way we do law enforcement in Western Pennsylvania. The other thing he did that shows that he was the right man for this challenge at this time is that he said, we need more people at this table to solve this problem, which is not a law enforcement problem. And that's where Robin and Latika and the recovery community and families and healthcare providers and public health, all of those individuals were invited to sit at the table with him and with law enforcement in Western Pennsylvania and say, how can we make a difference and stop the loss of lives for these people? How can we destigmatize addiction? How can we convey to people that it is a disease? How can we assure that people have the ability to get the help they need and the medically assisted treatment that they may need, and to do so without fear and shame? And that to me is a transformative leader. That's why it's particularly special that Margaret and I can be here today to accept this award. I think that we were fortunate that the nation in the form of President Obama and others in Washington recognized that the conversations and the sort of reconfiguring of these relationships in Western Pennsylvania were something that the rest of the country could benefit from, and that's why he was asked to serve on the National Heroin Task Force and to share the message that you cannot view this as a law enforcement problem. It really cuts across every aspect of our lives. And public health has to be at the table, the recovery community has to be at the table, and we have to work together to make a difference and stop the loss of life. So Robin, you have been a rock for him and for our efforts. We appreciate it very, very much. What I can tell you, even though I'm a week into this job, is that we are not going to relent at all in focusing on addiction and opioids and heroin and fentanyl and all of these substances and problems that are just taking the lives of too many people. I am proud to say that under David Hickton's leadership, we have much more sort of receptiveness on the part of law enforcement to carry naloxone, despite the sort of grim statistics we look at in terms of overdose deaths. Every time we hear from a county, we have 25 counties here in Western Pennsylvania, that there was a save of a person because of naloxone. That's a source of hope and encouragement because we know that at least one person on that day is going to have another chance. So thank you very much. It is an honor. And next year, Dave promises that he'll come sprinting up here with his new knees and he'll hand the torch off to somebody else. So thank you so much. It's an honor.
22 years.
21 years.
20 years.
19 years.
18 years.
17 years.
16 years.
15 years.
14 years.
13 years.
12 years.
And what that means to me is I haven't used any mind-altering chemicals in over 25 years. That also means that because of that, I'm able to do things I never even dreamed of. I don't know about you, but I was a dope fiend with no hope. I was a person who wasn't raised or came out the womb wanting to be an addict. I came from 2 wonderful parents and loving siblings. I had things. I had goals and aspirations. And one day I went down the path that I didn't think I could return. I say all that to say to you that almost 26 years later, I didn't think I'd be alive, nor standing in front of you guys to tell you how good life is, that there is hope after death, that we can achieve anything we want to do. I'm telling you that I did not want to be the executive director of Message Cares of Pennsylvania, a nonprofit that deals with stigma and discrimination on a regular basis. We are stigmatized all the time. That's why it's so important to put a face on recovery. And I wanted to scream, but I'm so controlling, when we were doing the recovery countdown, that when people, the individuals themselves, are in recovery, everybody around them is in recovery too. And so my hopes when we started this Clean Time countdown was that everybody that knows me and been around me for those 25 years could have stood in support of my recovery, because I have been an asset and not a liability. That was what happens when we do this thing called recovery. It goes way beyond our wildest dreams, way beyond what we can even imagine. And in another fellowship, they said, if you make a list and write it down and stay here long enough, you will supersede what you wrote. Am I correct, Lee? Another place I go, which is on the other side of this partition, they said there's a power that's so awesome and so great that they got destiny in place because they saved someone like me. Those things I believe and I take to heart, which is why I stand before you when I don't want to. Which is why I'm saying to you, all of you who have blessed me to stand before you, can stand right here one day or do something more exceedingly and abundantly than I'm doing right now. We need each other. At Message Carriers, we need you. We need you to volunteer. You might think it's a selfless act, but I'm telling you, volunteering is a way to get back into society. Volunteering gives you the application of job opportunities. Volunteering for such an organization that can save people like me and you, keep treatment doors open, keep recovery support systems alive, allow us to sit at the tables with the U.S. attorneys. Look, and they were here by the president. I love President Obama, but y'all ain't heard of me. It's not really political, but I want you to know, all jokes aside, become a registered voter. Not voting, you made a choice on what happens in your life. So not being a part of the system will never change you. You cannot change a system that you refuse to participate in. You can talk about what we do or don't do, but if you don't participate, you allow us to do what we want to do. And that's what happens. So, you know, when we asked you to sign your name on those sign-in sheets, we want to keep you abreast of what's going on. We want you to know that when we go to Harrisburg and say, hey, don't close the door to that treatment facility, or hey, give Message Carriers a couple more dollars so we can hire one of these volunteers to help us keep these recovery supports and these hotlines open. We need you. The Robin that everybody likes to talk about, and I kind of like that, but I don't do this by myself. I thank my board of directors. I would like them to stand up right now. The board of directors. They work hard to support Message Carriers. They show up when I ask them. They do things behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. I thank them true-heartedly. I thank First Step Recovery Homes a lot. There's not been a time that when I call on Keith and First Step, that they don't show up and show out for me. I thank them. I thank Reverend David Ellis, because between the two of them, got me in this position. I'm not sure if I really want to thank them for real, but it's because of you guys that I get to grow. I stand on their shoulders. There's nothing that was done without you two sowing the seed. Thank God for Mr. David Jones for sure, because it's the efforts and the funding from Allegheny County that does the most, and it will give us the most that we can do the things we're doing. But we need you. We need your donations. If you haven't thought about giving, why don't you give to Message Heroes? It's a good organization to give to. Your money is tax deductible. We are a 501c3. Sow into us so we can sow into others. Again, thank you, David and Sue, for sitting in. You did a wonderful job. My friend Karen Clavin, I called on her. I'm telling you, everybody. And that's Heather, my wonderful friend Heather. Heather, could you come here for 1 second? I want y'all to know that this is a survivor right here. This woman right here has OD and was brought back to life. It may not be the way to help others, but it helped her. And look what a beautiful specimen of a person she is. So, and the wonderful Elder Roland Slade, he called himself calling me this morning to just check on me. Every now and then, people will call and check on you when they haven't seen you or haven't been blessed by your loveliness. And I say, thank you, God, because I had just not, about 5 minutes ago, got a call to say the person, Felicia, was sick. And I said, I don't know who's going to do it, but it's not going to be me. He called. And giving the word of God, he received his blessing. I say all that, I want you guys to know that without you, we are nothing. Consider participating. When we give you the robocalls, saying, does, that sign-in sheet does a couple of things. I just want you to know. If by chance you don't want to be on our Facebook or website, you need to step to me after this and say, hey, don't let people know I was at your event. This is not an anonymous program. We are not a part of a 12-step group. We're not a part of the church. We are a recovery community organization in which we're human beings in a society that needs to know that recovery happens every day. So I hope nobody would deny their picture being seen. And then, everybody got a twin, so it couldn't be you anyway. Right? We got plenty of refreshments to the side. I hope that you guys eat, drink, and be merry. We're in this spot for a good half an hour. Please, fellowship, talk to one another, love on each other. This is a time to love one another. And let me say this right quick. Another volunteer that we had lost her life to this misunderstood illness just this past month. And it's donated. Someone made a donation in my name. Understand this. You're somebody that silently may not be talking about what they're going through. Don't be so quick to judge. Somewhere we say people who judge don't matter, and people who matter don't judge. This is a time of giving. This is a time of more love abundantly. Just give a little hope. Breathe life and not death upon one another. We are here to celebrate, commemorate, and recognize, I think I forgot, those who support this new way of life. I love you. If no one told you they love you today, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy. We're going to turn our little music on and finish eating up this stuff. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless.